thou shalt prosper. I got the man of God himself right here with me. So tell us, let me just get back to this because I'm really tripping out right now, because I'm not going to lie to you, and not to get off the subject, I have saw you speak before, and I'm not going to lie. I saw you post stuff on Facebook about X amount of hours that a teacher need to have in order to really, really master his skill. And in my mind, you know, you are an excellent speaker. I mean, the swag is there, the content is there, and to hear you say just now that it wasn't until that day that you discovered your purpose is really mind-blowing, because I've discovered that you can operate in a gift, but not really know the one who really gave the gift. So tell us the incident, what happened within your spirit that day when Dr. Monroe spoke over your life? What happened?
Well, it went from me having a talent. My talent is my speaking ability, my ability to be able to take information, transcend it, create a picture, and make it inspiration. And inspiration is the gift. The talent is what God gave you. The gift is what you give to people. If you think about it, when you give a gift, that's what you leave. So I don't leave my talent with people. They hear me speak, but that's my talent. My gift is what I've deposited when I leave. So the gift is my ability to inspire. And so I discovered the gift from the encounter because I was inspired.
You discovered the gift after the encounter, but you had the gift already. So what does that mean?
I had the talent.
Okay, you had the talent,
not the gift.
Okay.
Yeah, the gift is what you leave.
Oh, okay, I got you.
The talent is what you have.
Okay.
Right? So for example, I would speak motivationally, I would teach, I would coach, I would train, and those things were great. Those are how-to. But my life didn't have a definiteness of purpose. Like, purpose is, I now, from the encounter, saw exactly why I was sent here. Okay. There are thousands of speakers.
Right.
There are hundreds of thousands of authors and folks that operate in the talent arena that I operate in. But there's something God gave me, there's a truth that God put in my mouth that's designed for somebody's spirit. And I discovered that in a moment. It's called a breakthrough.
Okay.
A breakthrough is a moment in time where the impossible becomes possible. I had a breakthrough. Now, here's what I tell people. Most people are not willing to go through the breakdowns to encounter the breakthrough.
I saw you post that a few days ago.
Yes.
So tell me, what happened after that? What began to happen in your life?
Well, a couple of things. The Bible says He provides signs following.
Right.
After there were a couple of sessions that we went through. There were 4 sessions I went through with Dr. Monroe in person, the encounter. And those 4 sessions, number one, the first couple of sessions were about leadership. I understood the difference now about leadership. And the greatest act of leadership is mentorship. Passing it on. And most leaders don't want to pass it on because they believe that leadership is supposed to be something kept for them. It's a position that they never want to relinquish. And the greatest leader that ever lived was Jesus. He never built a building. He never wrote a book. 2,000 years later, they're still talking about him. His organization still grows. So the first thing I learned and came in an encounter with was leadership, the true essence of leadership. Now, one of the authorities on leadership is a gentleman named John C. Maxwell. I study all his books, and not all of them, but a lot of the chapters in the books, and they really impacted me. And he said leadership boiled down to influence. Dr. Monroe introduced me to the original intent of leadership. And it came out of the scripture. And I'm sitting there listening to this stuff. And I thought I was a well-learned brother, conscious as many of our Muslim brothers claim to be. And so I was a thinker. And I'm sitting there like, I have never.
What did he say?
He said, number one, leadership must be personal before public. And one of the greatest examples he would always use in describing leadership is never about pursuing people. It's about discovering you first. Once you discover you discover what you were meant to do. Then you pursue it. There you go. Okay. And now people are attracted to you. You don't go chase them. And so I started to get a clear understanding of what leadership really is and how to operate in leadership. And then he also said something to me that really arrested my attention. He said, everybody's a leader. Now that sounds counterproductive to what many have are taught, because the question that comes in people's mind is, if everybody is a leader, then who's gonna follow?
So what did he say?
He said, leadership has nothing to do with who follows.
Okay.
Everybody is a leader in an area of gifting. For example, you look at these cars out here, you have Bentleys and Rolls Royces, they've got about 40,000 parts. Now, what's the most powerful part of that automobile? Most people will say, you know what? If I was to say the most powerful, most important part of that automobile would be, it would have to probably be the battery. Because without the battery, there's no power. Car can't do it, can't move, it can't start, it can't do anything. And I said, I agree, it's probably the battery. He said, well, why don't we evaluate a little further? He said, there's another part in that car called the spark plug. A battery may run you in this car probably about $1,000 for a battery. Because that's not a car, that's an automobile. so he said, it's $1,000 for the battery. But without the spark plug that gives a charge to the battery is non-functional. It's no good. A spark plug in that car may be $40. So what's more important, the $1,000 battery or the $40 spark plug? He said, we'll take it a step further. There's another part in there called a terminal wire. It's just a wire that discharges power between the spark plug into the battery. Now that terminal wire may be $4. Now what's more important? The battery, the spark plug, or the terminal wire? They all are. Which one is the leader? The battery, the terminal wire, or the spark plug? They all are. Why? Because everything and everyone is a leader in their area of gifting. So what's the most important part of the car? All of it. That's leadership.
So when you left there,
Yes.
what's the first thing you did?
I went to study.
Okay.
I went to study because you have to understand. And I want to get clarity because he gave me foundation to build upon. That's what a great teacher does. That's what Jesus did. Jesus proclaimed, which means to preach, but with the disciples, he taught. Teaching is to explain, preaching is to proclaim. So many people, they get to preaching, and preaching has nothing to do with pastoring, it has nothing to do with religion. Preaching is proclaiming a certain message. A politician preaches. A business owner preaches because they're proclaiming their message. A gospel is nothing but a message. But Jesus preached a kingdom message. Totally different. And he taught the disciples. Disciples is not a religious word. Disciples means student. He taught because he was a teacher, rabbi. He taught them, he explained to them different things. So what I did, learning from the teacher, is I took the information. I studied his books. For 2 years, I took everything out that I was listening to, every other book, I put them all on the shelf, and I listened and I was always a voracious reader and listener. I mean, many people, my audio library, in terms of what I listened to for the last 11 years, people be like, oh my goodness, you're crazy. Yes, I was very committed, and still am very committed, but now I had purpose aligned to it because I knew what I was looking for. I knew that I had a definitive call to do something. And now my life went from pursuing success to attracting significance.
So, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
For the next 25 years,
Yes.
what is your focus?
My only focus for the next 25 years or even 250 years is two things. Number one, to distribute ideas. And number two, to help people meet their real selves. That's it. My life's purpose, my life's work, because remember, your job is what you're paid for, your work is what you're made for. My whole life's work, my whole purpose now is one directional focus, is to talk to people about things that matter.
You know, Dr. Monroe in this video that he spoke over your life,
Yes.
if I'm not, please correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying everything that is on me will be on you.
Yes,
That's a heavy word.
it is.
Do you, because I listen to you speak and I can just hear the same teachings and stuff like that. What did that do to your life?
It gave me clarity because I had always rejected the notion and the idea to preach. Because most preachers are politicians.
Okay.
You listen at some of the things that have been passed in our law today, in our country today, and you listen to most of these quote-unquote platinum preachers that have 1,000 members, 10,000. They skate around the idea. They won't confront it because most of them have no influence beyond their pulpit. They're nothing but politicians in the pulpit. When I studied Dr. Monroe's work, he was retained by 37 governments to be an advisor.
Yeah, he had a lot of influence.
A lot of influence. So he wasn't relegated or restricted to that pulpit. He said, never let people label you, and never label yourself, because whatever you label yourself becomes your prison. So he says, no, I'm not a preacher. I preach, but I'm not a preacher. Apostle Paul said it this way: I become all things to all men so I can win at least some of them. So he was in government. He has strong influence in government around the globe. So when they're making these decisions, when they're writing laws and all of these types of things, he had an influence, he had a voice to say, hey, we should reconsider that. This could be the impact. And if when the man of God is not able to have influence in the world, Solomon says, woe to the land when the fool becomes king.
Right.
Woe is one of the harshest words in the Hebrew language. It means damned,
Right.
damned to hell.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I started to research his influence, yes, he was an incredible author of, I think, 57 odd books, and 49 of them were bestsellers. He would go speak to colleges and universities. He would go speak to corporations. He was invited by, imams in the Nation of Islam and the Islamic faith to come speak. Buddhists would invite him to come speak because he would always teach principles, and principles are transferable because they're laws. And so when he said that to me, I didn't know the vast work that he had accomplished. But when I went and studied and researched, it gave me clarity. I said, that's something that I can do. Because I never wanted my influence to be bifurcated or segmented into only one area. I wanted to reach a multiplicity of people, and I wanted to have a universal impact.